mechanism that you could resolve your dispute without necessarily having the recourse to the courts or the tribunals. Now, we have mediation. Mediation is provided for under the laws of Uganda. In this case, we have the judicature mediation rules that require that all civil matters should first be mediated before it can be tried in the courts. So as URA, even when people file matters at the Tax Appeals Tribunal, we have a window of mediation of about 60 days where a taxpayer is allowed to bring in evidence if there are any documents that they feel that they did not submit during the objection period. They can still submit these documents to the taxman, and during the mediation period, we can review this documentation. And if the documentation submitted has the effect of varying the assessment, then parties will gladly enter into a consent settlement order, which is endorsed, and it constitutes the judgment of the tribunal or courts at that. Then we also have instances whereby a taxpayer can write to the Commissioner General, yes, that I want to do ADR on a particular dispute. So you'll be given an opportunity to be heard. You'll bring in all your documents, evidence in support of your objection. Now, we'll have time and look at this, and then again, if we agree with you, then we can be able to maybe set aside the assessment. But more important to note is that as you explore the ADR methods, we have an issue of timelines. Yeah? For example, if you're given an objection decision, the time runs immediately from the time of an objection decision. You have 30 days to go to the Tax Appeals Tribunal. And for customs, you have about 45 days. So it's always important that you file your application such that you're not caught off guard, yeah, as you try and explore these other means, yes? Because sometimes somebody may choose to have mediation or ADR, but have not filed the application at the Tax Appeals Tribunal or wherever. And then time runs, and then you don't get anything inside during the ADR process. So it's important that you file your application as you also explore this alternative dispute resolution mechanism, which of course have positive benefits. For example, it saves you time. It's also cheap, and mainly, and then the other thing is that there's a win-win situation where parties are able to have benefits going both sides between the taxman and the taxpayer. So it is something that the taxpayers are largely encouraged to embrace. And I think we have registered a lot of revenues resulting from this alternative dispute resolution mechanism. Disputes can be resolved at a fast rate. When you choose to go to court, sometimes these matters are locked up in the courts for a very long time, and then at the end of the day, you lose the case, and you're condemned to pay a lot of costs. So if you realize that you do not have a very good case, it's very important to engage the taxman, yeah, and try and see how to resolve this issue outside court. Because when you go to the courts, they will give you costs, damages, and things like that, which will be detrimental to your business, yeah? So the ADR mechanism is something that any taxpayer should be looking out for.
Thank you so much. I would like to probe you guys further. When you talk about, there were three things that you mentioned, especially in light of ADR,
Yes.
the benefits, or should I say the advantages. One of them was it is faster,
Sure.
you save time.
Yeah.
Then you said it is cheaper, you save money. Then the third one was it offers a 50-50, a win-win situation for both taxman and taxpayer. I would like to prompt Donald to break it down further, to make it even more consumable, paint us a vivid picture of how these three things come to life by way of alternative dispute resolution.
Yes, thank you so much, Solomon. And as my colleague Sam said, it's not all about going to the litigation and arguing out laws and every time through third parties, which are courts of law. Sometimes amicable settlement is the basis of basis of ADR. And like he said, there's also ADR or mediation, which is under the Tax Appeals Tribunal. But a taxpayer who does not want, maybe because to go in a tribunal, you need professional people, you need lawyers, you need accountants, you need, but sometimes once you, in ADR, you only need yourself. If you feel you're comfortable, you can come through the mechanism he said, sit down with the taxman and give him your view, and he will hear you out. I mean, because sometimes these things, they are done, the actions or omissions are done inadvertently. Because you can have someone who maybe didn't know how to file returns, or he knew, but there are some things he hadn't considered. So sometimes once you sit down with the taxman, it becomes cheap, first of all, because you don't have to involve professional advisors and meaning legal people and accountants. Those ones will need money, of course. You're always crying about the assessment, so you don't need again to add on more to reach justice. Justice should be cheap. So, and it's also quick, because here you see you have mandatory timelines, you have, because now, like now, if you go to tribunal, they are adjourning matters to January. So now imagine your matter is in the tribunal, and they're giving you a date in January, 2 months away. So you'll find that you'll be there just waiting, no action will be taken, nothing. But with ADR, you can say, let's meet today, tomorrow, and even next week, and we conclude this matter. So it's quicker, it's cheap, and it's also effective because the respondent, whose URA, has also embraced it. They have mechanisms, maybe through ADR. Once you have an ADR committee, they'll hear your case and give it to the appeals committee, will go through it and give the legal team their position, and this can be put into a settlement. So the settlement is enforceable in law because it's endorsed by both parties, and sometimes if it's under Tax Appeals Tribunal, the tribunal will also endorse it. So it's something that you can move around with and say, this dispute was fully and finally settled. So you can see it's enforceable, it's efficient, it's fast, and it's also, I think it's not stressing. That's also an important point. Litigation can be stressing. One day you go there, they tell you now the judges are not there. You maybe, but here, URA is here permanently. You can always have someone to help you work out this. It's a whole team. You can't say the whole of legal team is away, the whole of the objection team is away, or appeals team. So it's less stressful, and it's faster, quicker, more efficient, Solomon. That's why most people agree and are embracing ADR and mediation and all these other mechanisms of out-of-court settlements to resolve these tax disputes.
Thank you so much. Someone here has a question. I think his name is Ronald, and it's a question that is coming through from Twitter, and he's saying, is there a provision under ADR for one to appeal? Should they be uncomfortable with the final position? Someone has taken the ADR route, and they're not quite happy with the resulting outcome. Is there a provision for appeal?
I think that's something that can burn your fingers sometimes. Let's say, because once you go under ADR, because the tribunal has strict timelines, 30 days you have to file. If you don't, then you'll be out of time, unless if you can apply for extension of time, which is when you're still within 6 months. But what the tribunal recognizes as the objection decision is issued at objection for both customs and DT, domestic taxes. So once you choose to go to appeals, that's whatever decision comes out of there is not a decision that can take you to the Tax Appeals Tribunal. So that's why when you come here, because when you seek equity, you should come with clean hands, because you really want to resolve this out of court. You should know that you've left the other option. You shouldn't want to be here and be there. But unlike ADR and mediation, court-annexed mediation, that one is you're already in Tax Appeals Tribunal, in the Tax Appeals Tribunal, but there's a forum for you to mediate outside as you come back for hearing once you fail to agree. That's why you can have both going on. But if you choose not to file in the tax appeals tribunal within the given stipulated timelines, then you will not be seen to come after mediation, ADR that has happened maybe of 60 days, and now you want to go back to the tribunal. You'll have to maybe go through a cumbersome process of applying for extension, and yes, so that you can be let into the tribunal with sufficient grounds, of course.
Thank you so much, Donald. We do have a question here. It's quite an interesting one from Zaina. It has come through via Twitter. And Zaina is asking, how does mediation and arbitration differ? She must be a lawyer. This sounds like a legal thing, really, terminologies. Is there a differentiation between mediation and arbitration? How do the two differ?
The two are mechanism of alternative dispute resolution. Mediation, like I said, is one that parties that are at dispute, at crossroads, will sit down and try and resolve the issue amicably. Yes, arbitration is provided for in Uganda, for example, under the Arbitration Act. Now, the arbitration currently, we do not have arbitration for tax disputes. We do not do that here because arbitration is provided for under the Arbitration and Conciliation Act, and parties must agree that if there is any dispute, we will have recourse to arbitration where parties can appoint an agreed arbitrator. Yes. So here we're talking about ADR to mean alternative dispute resolution, where we have mediation as one of our highlights, our main dispute resolution mechanism, where we engage with our taxpayers, where we can't agree, we always give each other opportunity to review these things once more. If I've given an assessment that you don't agree, the door is always open. You can still come if you believe that you have sufficient evidence to explain the tax position that has been issued to you. Yes.
So you complicated things a bit more for myself and probably Zaina too.
Okay.
When you brought in the issue of arbitrator, an arbitrator, you said the word, but you didn't quite define.
Okay, I said arbitration is governed by the Arbitration and Conciliation Act.
Yes.
This is where parties to a dispute, or maybe people are entering into a contract.
Let's suppose me and you are disagreeing.
Yeah, but you must commit at the point of maybe entering into a contract that in the event of dispute, there is an arbitration clause which says that recourse shall be first heard to an arbitrator. Now, which is different for tax purposes. The tax purposes has its elaborate dispute resolution mechanism, which starts with an objection when the tax appeals tribunal. Now, we do not arbitrate tax disputes because to arbitrate, the parties must agree that we shall have recourse to arbitration. I hope that sufficiently clears you.
That does. She had a follow-up question, but clearly I think the answer is even quite straightforward if you ask me, because she's saying, can mediation and arbitration be combined? And I think for the case of taxation, the two can't.
No.
They are mutually exclusive.
Yeah, I think because arbitration, you have, it's the person to decide the case. Like when the panel of members in the tribunal are appointed maybe by the president, and they are in statutory appointments. But arbitration, once you're appointing an arbitrator, you say, me, Solomon, I am appointing
the two of us are choosing.
so and so,
Yes.
and even Sam is going to appoint. You have to agree. Sometimes both of you have to appoint, then the two appoint another person. So tax laws, since they are statutory, and it's not, you cannot start bringing in different people and different, because maybe you could connive to appoint different arbitrators. But here, because these are tax law is very strict in nature. You need a dispute to be resolved in mechanisms that are well known, well settled, and well laid out in laws. Yeah, so that's why you cannot have arbitration in tax disputes. Well, some other jurisdictions might have a few of these, but in Uganda, we don't have any of those now.
Thank you so much. This one is mine, it's personal. Have we had scenarios where a taxpayer has taken the ADR route, of course, the bottom line is getting to a 50-50 win-win situation. How much have we seen, especially on the success side, someone getting out of that with pure satisfaction of, yeah, we were able to settle this thing?
I think that's a very good question because we have a very positive response. We have so many high rate of settlements, which is both in favor of the URA and in favor of the applicant. Yeah, because sometimes really you find someone did not have documentation and now they have provided them. So this transaction can be explained. Maybe it was an unrelated party loan or something, but they show you where they got the money from, all this trail of documents. So you find, because as a taxman, you have to keep probing, you have to keep looking for the tax. Sometimes you might think there's tax here, but once it's explained away, then there's no need really, because every taxpayer has to pay the fair amount of tax, the lawful and justified amount. So there is a very good rate of settlement of cases, and it also brings in a lot of money for URA, because taxpayers have considered it so many times that yes, even if I objected, I went to TAT, I agree. I mean, I went for ADR and TAT mediation, they withdraw their matters or they settle their matters after you explaining to them. Because sometimes the URA staff, they handle things on a daily basis. They will tell you, whereas you think this tax does not exist, this is the law that provides for it, this is how it's done. So that you will open the eyes of a taxpayer and they're like, oh, I have to pay tax. Because as a dutiful citizen, you should know once the tax is right and just, you have to pay really. Because it's your duty, like we said in the beginning. So once that is established, taxpayers have really paid under ADR, because they have been submitting of minds. People explain to you until you know that this tax is lawful and you have to pay it. So they have paid, and also sometimes we have considered on some that no, maybe we hadn't seen this part of the story. That's why we are, conceding on that point. Yeah, so it works for both ways and it's really successful.
100%. I mean, you speak with it. You speak with a lot of conviction when you're talking about it. Have we had some cases going on the other side of the coin, where I mean, you come to a position that the taxpayer is like, no, this is not doing what I expected it to do, and they, take the legal route again.
Again, maybe if they are in that can happen in instances where they are, because we had already told you about once you've chosen an ADR route, but let's say you're under TAT annexed mediation, once you don't agree within the 60 days, then you'll say, okay, these matters, you can agree even partially. You say, for these you've brought documents, for this legal interpretation issue, let's refer it to the tribunal for consideration and interpretation. So yeah, some taxpayers don't agree. Even us, sometimes we don't agree with them and say, you know what, this is an issue that can be settled by a tribunal, so that we can also get guidance, maybe, because the tribunal, courts are taken to be not to be knowing everything. So once a decision comes from court, most people will usually adhere to it, unless they have very strict or they have very strong reasons why not to.
100%. Yes, of course, you're advocates of the law, right? But at this particular moment, I would like to give you an opportunity to advocate for something that's a bit different, really. To make a personal appeal to the viewers out there who are tuned in and they're watching and they're listening. What would you like to leave with them as we are, of course, wrapping up, coming to an end of this show? What is that one thing that you would like to leave with the taxpayer? I'll start with Don, of course.
Well, I mean, I will start again by appreciating you for tuning in and hoping we have been of help and we have opened up your eyes more on this tax dispute resolution. But as you know, as a taxpayer, you have rights. Even the URA Charter gives you rights. The Constitution gives you rights. And the tax laws give you rights. That's why every law has a dispute resolution mechanism. Because even when they were establishing tax under 152 of the Article 152 of the Constitution, they say, of course, no tax can be without a law. But it goes ahead to say for tax dispute resolutions, tax disputes, the tribunal is the one to handle this. Because they envisaged that the framers of the Constitution and the other laws, they envisaged that there is always a dispute. You cannot people always have different minds. You know, there are always different circumstances.
And you can't concentrate power in one
Yeah,
institution.
you cannot say because tax is at 40%, that is it. No, because there are other conditions that, you know, there might be a dispute out of it. So because you have a right as a taxpayer, you're free to try out these routes and avenues of tax dispute resolution internally. Like we said, you can object. Once you're not satisfied, you can either choose to go for ADR or go to the Tax Appeals Tribunal. And once you're also dissatisfied with the Tax Appeals Tribunal, go to the appellate courts, the higher courts going up to Supreme Court. So, this is there not to enforce or look for you, imprison you. No, you have a right and you're supposed to pay the right tax. So don't be afraid of meeting the URA people and trying to explain to them your grievance, because like you've seen, it can be settled at any of those stages or either of those stages. So, and taxes, it develops your country. So let's also not just be litigation-minded or dispute-minded. Let's also try to be compliant taxpayers from the beginning so that we don't go to the dispute resolution. We're also not happy always fighting with taxpayers. Like in developed countries, people pay tax. There are only very few issues that come up, no? Very technical issues. But really, once you taxpayers are very compliant, we shall develop this country together, and yeah, we shall be very independent, economically independent, and that's what we all want to see, please. So if you can please keep paying your taxes, and we shall also keep charging the fair tax. Yeah, and in case you are dissatisfied, in the few instances that you are dissatisfied, let us try out dispute resolution. You can also be helped. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Donald. That's a good wrap. Sam, over to you.
Thank you so much, our viewers. We thank you so much for joining in on the various platforms. I would like to encourage that you can still reach us on our different platforms. Solomon and the team are always out there to answer any queries about these tax issues. I know the session has been very short. 1 hour is not so long to distill all these issues. We have a lot of literature on our web portal, or if you walk into our offices, there's a bit of literature that you could take away to distill these issues. We have a lot of things that you could learn on your own. I also want to thank you so much for paying taxes, the correct share of taxes. We appeal to you that this is a noble thing. It's a noble duty. It's founded in our Constitution. And then also, I appeal to you to explore the different alternative dispute resolution mechanisms that we have set out as an institution. That is the ADR, where we have mediation and things like that. These have been confirmed to work, and they have helped in resolving these disputes in a timely manner. So I encourage you, our taxpayers, to embrace this. Thank you very much. Stay blessed.
Thank you so much, Sam. And of course, at this very moment, dear viewers, kindly allow me to appreciate each one of you for tuning in across the various platforms. Some of you have come through via Zoom. Some of you have come through via Facebook Live, YouTube, Twitter, and a few of you via the URA blog. Our commitment to you as URA is to continue giving you such discussions through these platforms by way of URA TV. We shall not get tired of making information available to you, and it is our prayer that you also don't get tired of tuning in whenever we do have something to share. From all of us at URA TV, to you, adios.
Mugasha, did you see the game last night?
I slept looking for a receipt. Up to now, I'm still looking for it.
What kind of receipt?
There is a certain receipt. I need to file my returns. I'm trying to find it.
By the way, do you know these guys of URA asked for 3 million from me?
Me, I paid 500,000 only.
You mean you pay only 500,000?
Yes.
They asked for 3 million. Why am I being asked to pay more?
I don't know.
You must know. We have the same level of capital, same rent, same premises. We even meet the same expenses. Why am I being taxed more?
I don't know. But for me, I sent my income and expenses via the URA website.
So they are punishing me because I did not send that through the website. Mugisha, you know these things. You know the type of expenses we go through here.
I know, but how will URA believe you if you don't write them down or keep records for your receipt as proof?